the United States government stood tall with one bold claim that not even a ghost could escape this prison. But 3 criminal masterminds shattered that promise so completely that the entire world was left speechless. Today, I'm telling you the story of the most legendary prison break ever executed, one that will give you chills and blow your mind wide open. Buckle up, because this ride is terrifying, suspense-filled, and absolutely wild. Sitting right in the middle of San Francisco Bay, this was no ordinary prison. Known as Alcatraz, it was an impenetrable fortress of pure dread. The island was deliberately built 2.5 miles offshore, surrounded entirely by ocean. The water temperature was so brutal that a human body would begin shutting down within minutes. The currents were so violent that even world-class swimmers stood zero chance. To keep prisoners psychologically broken, rumors were deliberately spread that the surrounding waters were infested with hungry sharks. Alcatraz housed America's most dangerous and uncontrollable criminals, the ones other prisons simply couldn't handle. Notorious mob bosses like Al Capone had reportedly wept behind these very bars. Security was iron tight, 1 armed guard for every 3 inmates, around the clock. Prisoners were counted 12 or more times daily, so that nobody could move even an inch out of place. The walls were reinforced concrete and steel, virtually impossible to breach. And even if someone somehow got past the walls, snipers with shoot-to-kill orders patrolled every angle. Beyond that, the deadly ocean was waiting. Walking into Alcatraz meant disappearing from the outside world forever. The silence inside and the haunting sound of crashing waves slowly drove prisoners to madness. The government was arrogant about one thing: Alcatraz was escape-proof. They genuinely believed not even a supernatural force could break out alive. They had absolutely no idea that 3 criminal minds were quietly dismantling that arrogance piece by piece. Our story truly ignites in the early 1960s, when a handful of extraordinary inmates arrived at Alcatraz. The most dangerous among them was Frank Morris, a man whose brain functioned like a supercomputer. Morris had an IQ of 133, placing him in the top 2% of human intelligence worldwide. An orphan from birth, he had spent his entire life escaping from one institution after another. Alongside this mastermind were 2 brothers, John and Clarence Anglin, legendary bank robbers with multiple escape attempts already on their records. Rounding out the group was Alan West, a sharp and skilled automobile mechanic. By sheer coincidence, or perhaps fate, all 4 men were placed in adjacent cells inside the world's most secure prison. During lunch or in the exercise yard, they communicated through gestures and whispers, assembling their dangerous blueprint. Morris understood quickly that brute force would never work here. If they were going to beat Alcatraz, they needed a plan so creative and so unexpected that nobody, not the warden, not the architects, would ever see it coming. The guards looked down on them as uneducated thugs. That dismissiveness would prove to be the guards' most catastrophic mistake. These 4 men made one collective oath: they would either walk free or die trying in that ocean. They had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Morris began scanning the prison like a hawk, studying every corner, every routine, every structural detail. After months of silent observation, something clicked. He spotted a vulnerability that the very engineers who built Alcatraz had overlooked. It was so subtle that no ordinary person would ever notice it. Each cell had a small ventilation grill at the base of the wall, and the concrete surrounding those grills had been quietly deteriorating for years, weakened by the relentless moisture from salt air. If that concrete was gradually chipped away, the grills could be removed entirely. And behind those grills, according to the prison's layout, directly behind their cells ran a utility corridor, a narrow, pitch-black tunnel housing all of the prison's pipes and electrical wiring. No guard ever entered it. It was considered dead space. If they could tunnel into that corridor, they could access the roof of the building. The plan was straightforward. The execution was Everest-level difficult. They had no tools, no shovels, no hammers, no drills, and the work had to be completely silent because a single suspicious sound would send them to solitary confinement permanently. But Morris had an answer for every obstacle. "We don't need outside tools," he told his crew. "We'll build our own from what's right here." And that's exactly where their engineering genius went on full display. The Anglin brothers began quietly lifting ordinary spoons from the cafeteria and grinding them against surfaces until the metal became sharp enough to function as chisels. But scraping concrete with spoons alone would take years, so they went further. They covertly salvaged the motor from a prison vacuum cleaner, connected it to a guitar string and a modified spoon, and constructed a working drill. Functioning almost identically to the tools used in a dentist's office, they now had real digging power. But there was a serious problem. The motor produced noise, enough to alert the guards. Morris solved this with another stroke of brilliance. Prisoners at Alcatraz were allowed to play musical instruments during evening hours. Morris began playing the accordion passionately, filling the entire cell block with sound. Under the cover of that music, the other three worked their drill against the walls every single evening for months. Nobody noticed. The debris was packed into clothing pockets and silently scattered across the prison yard, exactly like something out of a Hollywood movie, except this was real life. Eventually, a hole large enough for a human body had been carved through each wall, but 12 daily inspections meant the holes had to be hidden perfectly. One glance from a guard, and it was over. So they created decoys. Using wet toilet paper, old magazines, and newspaper pulp, they molded fake ventilation grills that were shaped exactly like the real ones. They painted them with green paint stolen from the art room. The replicas were so convincing that even up-close inspection revealed nothing. They also strategically placed dirty clothes and shoes in front of the openings to draw guards' eyes away. Every night, they removed the fake grills, slipped into the corridor, and used it as their secret workshop. Invisible, unmonitored, completely theirs. But escaping the building was only half the mission. The real killer was outside. 2.5 miles of freezing, violent ocean. Swimming it was suicide. They needed a boat. And obviously, no boat was available inside a federal penitentiary, so they built one. Over 50 raincoats were quietly stolen from other inmates in storage areas. Using steam from hot water pipes running through the utility corridor, they melted and fused the rubber material together through a process called vulcanization, the same technique that makes rubber watertight and durable. Men who had barely attended school were pulling off chemistry experiments in the dark. After months of careful work, they had constructed a 14-foot inflatable raft, along with matching life vests, all made entirely from stolen raincoats. A modified musical instrument served as the inflation pump. Wooden paddles were carved from scrap lumber. Everything was stashed in the utility corridor, a space no guard would ever willingly enter. One final problem remained: the nightly head count. Guards swept flashlights over sleeping inmates multiple times each night. If any cell appeared empty, alarms would trigger immediately. So Frank Morris engineered something that would later be described as Hollywood-level genius. He built dummy heads. Using a mixture of toilet paper, soap, and powdered concrete dust, they sculpted realistic human heads, complete with noses, ears, and facial features. They painted them with skin-toned colors from the art class. Then the Anglin brothers, who worked in the prison barbershop, began pocketing real human hair from other inmates' haircuts and painstakingly glued it strand by strand onto each sculpted head. When finished, the dummies were so disturbingly realistic that even the inmates themselves were unnerved by them. The plan: on escape night, place the heads on pillows, drape blankets over the beds, and let the guards believe everyone was sleeping soundly. In the dark, a flashlight beam would catch real hair and a realistic face. That deception would buy them an entire night, 8 to 10 hours, before anyone discovered they were gone. The date was set: June 11th, 1962, the night that would permanently mark American history. By 9:30 p.m., lights out had sounded across Alcatraz. Complete silence fell over the building. Only the ocean hammered against the walls outside. Morris removed the fake grill, signaled his partners, and the three men arranged their dummy heads on their pillows, blankets puffed up to simulate sleeping bodies. Then, one by one, they slipped through the holes and into the dark corridor. Here is where the story delivers its gut punch twist. Alan West, the fourth man, the mechanic who had contributed so much to the plan, couldn't get out. His concrete had re-hardened. The fake grill he'd glued in place had dried and jammed solid. He clawed at it in a panic, drenched in sweat, too afraid to make noise. The others tried to help from the outside. It was useless. Time was evaporating. Staying any longer risked everything. With a heavy heart, Morris made the call. They had to leave West behind. For Alan West, that moment, watching his own freedom vanish in front of him, was the most devastating of his entire life. Now 3 men remained. They climbed 30 feet upward through the dark corridor, gripping pipes like spiders scaling a wall. At the top, a massive ventilation fan, which they had already pre-loosened, was shoved aside. They emerged onto the roof of Alcatraz. Cold wind hit them instantly. The ocean roared below. They were under open sky, but directly within range of armed guard towers. Searchlights swept the rooftop continuously. The 3 men pressed flat against the surface and crawled, inch by inch, through the sweeping beams. One moment of eye contact with any guard meant immediate, no-warning gunfire. They reached a 50-foot drainage pipe on the exterior wall and descended, slowly, silently, with the inflated raft strapped to their backs. The pipe was old and fragile. Any creak or shift could end everything. But that night, luck moved with them. At the bottom, they crossed 15 feet to the outer fence, scaled the barbed wire, and dropped onto the rocky shoreline. The freezing water sprayed their bodies immediately. Numbness set in within seconds. They inflated the raft using their improvised pump, threw themselves onto it, and drove their wooden paddles into the black water. At 10:30 p.m. exactly, 3 of America's most wanted criminals dissolved into the darkness of San Francisco Bay, leaving Alcatraz behind forever. Inside, guards were drinking coffee, completely convinced their inmates were sleeping peacefully. At 7 a.m., the morning sirens screamed across the prison. Guards began their count. One approached Morris's cell. The figure in the bed wasn't moving. The guard banged on the bars. Nothing. He entered, reached down, grabbed the figure by the head, and it tumbled off the pillow and hit the floor with a hollow thud. In his hand, a fistful of real human hair attached to a painted soap sculpture. The guard screamed! Emergency sirens detonated across all of Alcatraz. Officers flooded the Anglin cells. Same thing. 2 more fake heads, 2 more empty beds. The warden stood frozen, his reputation in absolute ruins. The most escape-proof prison in American history had been defeated using spoons, raincoats, and toilet paper. Alan West, still in his cell, broke down and told the FBI everything. Within hours, hundreds of Coast Guard vessels, FBI boats, and military helicopters flooded the bay. It became the largest maritime manhunt in United States history. Every news network ran the same headline: the impossible escape from Alcatraz. But the ocean gave nothing back. No bodies, no raft, no trace. And now the question that has haunted America for over 60 years. Did they survive? Close your eyes and picture those 3 men out there. Total darkness, freezing salt air, water temperatures near 32 degrees, their raincoat raft getting battered by waves like a toy in a bathtub. Every wave a freezing blow to the body, hands so numb they could barely grip the paddles. Angel Island was roughly 3 miles away, but the currents of San Francisco Bay are powerful enough to redirect massive cargo ships. Maybe the seams on the raft started splitting. Maybe icy water began filling the hull. Maybe, somewhere out in that black water, the ocean finally claimed them. Or maybe, just maybe, they made it.